Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for inviting me into your classroom to talk to you about why I became a journalist. First of all, my name is Linda Hurtado, and I anchor the news for Fox 13, and I do the noon, the 4, and the 5 o'clock news. But my path towards becoming a journalist really started long before that, when I was in school. I grew up in the theater, loving to sing and dance and act, but I recognized early on that I was not good enough at any of those things to really make it on Broadway. So I started thinking, what else do I love to do? Well, I love to write and I love current events. And I was always kind of the nosy friend, the one that was like, what's going on? What is she doing? What's the teacher doing? So all of that combined kind of made me a perfect candidate, I think, for journalism. But it was really in school when I went up to one of my teachers one day and said, hey, do you think I have what it takes to write for the school newspaper? And the teacher said, yes. That really set me on that path. So I started writing for the school newspaper in middle school, and I was writing for the school newspaper in high school. And then when I decided to go to college, I wanted to look for a college that had a good journalism school because I was already kind of on that path. So I went to the University of Georgia, and I still remember one of my professors, David Hazinski, who made such a big impression on me. And still today, I have the first letter that I got from him after I graduated from college, where he was kind of critiquing my work as a journalist because I had asked him to. That's how influential teachers can be in your life. And I remember learning the first time I shot with a camera, and back in the day they were huge. The first time I edited my own story, the first time I went on a breaking news story, which I think was a fire near the campus at Athens, and the first time I sat on the anchor desk. And it just felt right. I just loved every minute of it. And then I got a job out of college, and my first job paid a whopping $13,000 a year. And that's when I realized that I became a journalist not for the love of money. I became a journalist for the love of the game. And by that, I mean, what other job could I have where I have a front seat to history, literally? As a reporter, I covered the last launch of the shuttle at Cape Canaveral. I mean, I got as close to the launch as most humans will ever get. And I just remember liftoff first, sound follows. I covered a Super Bowl, the Republican National Convention, a riot over police tensions. I flew in an F-16, was at Thunderbirds, traveled to Haiti on a medical mission with local doctors, followed families back to Cuba that went back for the first time in 30 years. It was so emotional. And I met my husband on that trip. I covered more hurricanes than I can remember. I remember being thrilled to get out of the wet boots into a hotel room, snuggled up in the covers, eating a grilled cheese sandwich. But I was so hyped up on the energy of covering a storm that I couldn't go to bed. So I turned on the TV and I watched my colleagues continue to report on the hurricane. So if you love being where all the action is, if you truly love people and you love their stories and you like to find out what makes them tick and you like to think and find out ways that you can help them, if you have a desire to right wrongs, and if you really do believe that truth is the best option and it will set you free, then this career might be for you. So if you don't like hard work, it might not. And here's why. Today's journalists, they don't just tell stories. They learn how to shoot their own stories. They learn how to write their own stories, edit their own stories, which, by the way, I can do all of those things. They have to post social media. They have to post to the website. And the deadlines today are usually like, now. As soon as you get the information, get it on the air. So it's hard work, but it's thrilling. And it's also rewarding because as a journalist, you can really help people. I helped a young athlete paralyzed in a car accident get a vehicle so that he could drive. And he ended up going to college. And you know what? Now he's a lawyer. I helped raise over $40,000 for the breast care center that diagnosed my breast cancer, so that uninsured women can afford to get a mammogram because they'll pay for it with this money I've helped raise. And I've helped women of domestic violence find their voice and finally speak out. Being a journalist also gives you a platform to speak. Like, I was invited to talk to you guys because I'm a journalist. I also get invited to other events in the community that I think are really important. I've spoke in front of crowds for the American Cancer Society, for Hooked on Hope, the crew of Santiago Education Foundation, the Pasco County Education Foundation, it's really important to do good with whatever platform you have. And my point is, how cool is it, right, to have a career where you actually have the power to influence people's lives, and if you can, to actually change people's lives for the better. So if I had to do it all over again, I'd do the same thing. I'd walk right into that teacher's room and I'd look her right in the eye and I'd say, do you think I have what it takes to write for the newspaper, to be a journalist? And she'd tell me the same thing, and I would lift off into this amazing journey of journalism that I've had. I'm going to tell you a secret now. You're young, and so you may not be at the point where this even matters yet, but hopefully it will stick in your brain and you'll remember. Linda Hurtado of Fox 13 told me this. When you start to develop a love for something, whether it's writing or current events or television, TV production, TikTok, whatever it is, if you continue to develop that and you spend a life loving what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Okay, maybe a couple days of your life. Sometimes it feels like work. But the secret is, most of the time, it does not. Most days, I wake up and I feel so lucky that I get to be in the room where it happens. And if you've ever watched Hamilton, you'll get that reference. And if you haven't watched Hamilton, it just means basically a front seat to the action of the world. And it's a great place to be. So I hope that you will find a career in journalism and love it as much as I have. And thank you so much for inviting me into your classroom. And I hope that you will watch me and my colleagues every chance you get on Fox 13.